Good afternoon, everybody. I know it's amazing. I'm starting to keep track of this, but I'm actually on time again. Pretty awesome. And I appreciate you guys being here. I know it's a busy Sunday afternoon, and this is kind of early for me, which it really is. So, shout out to you guys for showing up today and, helping me kind of promote the whole catastrophe that's going on around the world and constantly in our Western society. So, thank you all for being here. Skeleton, Brother Radioactive, or sorry, Radical, and Brother JR. Good to see you. Hope you're all doing well. Before we get into the big details of tonight, I kind of wanted to do a few side touch ups on what's been going on, a few things we've been following over the last couple of months here. Unfortunately, some of it's very hush hush, very not a whole lot of details coming out. And one of them was the crash in Brazil that killed all of those cancer doctor researchers, whatever it was, that were on their way to the whole meeting of the minds to basically give their evidence on how the Fauci ouchie basically gave a lot of people cancer. But the plane crashed. So we're not going to hear from them. But, it is what it is. Like I said, updates on that have been kind of sparse on details. It's mostly just kind of mainstream whatever, spinning their narratives. However, it's very suspicious. I don't know. Again, the conspiracy theorists, like I guess myself, could be kind of on the money with what's going on there. It's very convenient for certain people that, basically in a way committed a mass genocide against like the world's population, transferred a hell of a lot of wealth. Again, we don't know. It's all speculation. What we do have an update on, though, is from our stories going on in the UK, of course. The Palestinians, the Islamics, no, let's keep that as it is. But the Islamics in the UK have basically announced their victory, which, again, as I stated in my comments, as they should. They own the place. Congratulations to them on their new state of Palestine, which is the UK. My big question is, will they be renaming it? I don't know. But they're celebrating their victory, which obviously we knew they had. At the same time, they're making mass arrests on anybody that's protesting the illegal immigration over there. Of course, just recently, and I still haven't confirmed this story, but apparently, even right here in British Columbia, we have had someone arrested for something they said on Twitter when it came to immigration or the illegals coming across our borders. Whether or not that's true, I have no idea, but within the next few days, it should come out pretty quick. I definitely know that we have one of the reporters from Rebel News over in the Vancouver area. So I'm sure if there's any legitimacy to it, we will hear it through them. Again, whether or not you believed the UK Prime Minister when he said he will have your country, possibly, I believe it was just the US that was mentioned, have your citizens extradited. Hey, I put nothing past them. You have to remember, this cabal is everywhere. We're not looking at an individual country anymore. We are looking at worldwide. We know that New Zealand, Australia, the UK, Switzerland, Sweden, Canada, obviously, lots of other countries around the world have basically given in to the Nazi regime. We may have won a battle back in 1944, but we clearly lost the fucking war because they're everywhere. In every part of government, Doesn't matter what you look at, which side you're going for. We know that they are all on the same page, following someone else's agenda for world domination and control over the people. And they've got it. They've got it. Obviously, you can see from what's going on even in Ireland, which Southern Ireland is a little more, I guess, patriotic than Northern Ireland, obviously. I see the North as a bunch of traitors, but again, it's the Northern Ireland that's been taken over the most. Again, these illegals go everywhere they want, so it doesn't really matter. But they won the UK, they won other countries, and you might as well just face the facts that wherever these people are, you should not be. And that is it. Parts of Canada completely lost to other countries. They might as well claim them as their own because that's the only people that live there. So we've got, I believe it was Brampton on the East Coast. It's now Little India. What do you do? On the other side of that, the story that we were following on the Bangladesh, basically genocide, that's gone very quiet as well. So not a whole lot of updates coming from that. Apparently, the other day there were some groups that are finally fighting back against these Muslim extremists. So they're obviously forming their own rebellions. But as for the government's involvement or, military support, police support, there is nothing. It is mum. It seems to be a crackdown on the actual information coming out of places. So again, we don't know. Here in Canada, I mean, I could see absolutely Justin Castro going along with the UK's proposal to have people extradited or jailed here in Canada for things that they say when it comes to illegal immigration, whatever the case may be, the loss of their country, of their customs, their values. Justin Trudeau, well, aka Justin Castro, I mean, he doesn't care, right? He's going to go to Cuba as soon as he loses anyway, to where his father's from. So regardless however you want to look at it, here are some of the things that I advise you to do. Get a gun, learn how to use it, and if you can, I wouldn't say really to shelter in place or stockpile in place. I would say get as far away from the cities at the very least as you can. But get prepared, because blood in the street is the next step. It doesn't matter where you are. We've already seen plenty of blood being spilled in the street in the UK. But again, it's generally one-sided, and all the other groups that are trying to protect their homes, they're basically silenced, jailed, or beaten down by the police. So whether or not they want to make you disappear, it's totally up to them. So today, with that out of the way, again, I will keep eyes on that, but the information's kind of sparse, really sparse. Especially with the Brazilian aircraft that went down, that one is next to nothing, really next to nothing coming out on that. And today's story, of course, is going to revolve around CPS, the family courts. This story specifically comes from the United States, and it's not an unfamiliar story, but it's apparently one that we don't hear about as much as you think. And when we listen to the news report that we have up, and we've listened to the statements that people give from the courts, the police investigators themselves, it really does seem like it's kind of kept on the quiet, and we only occasionally get the leaks of extreme cases. Of course, not last year, but the year before, we covered the young boy whose Mother got custody of him when she got out of prison, and then within a week she murdered him point blank range with a 12 gauge shotgun, and then tried to pass off this absolute bloody mess. I mean, it was a 9-year-old boy, and he was shot, they believe, 9 times. The damage that it did to that poor little boy's body just left pieces everywhere, including in her hair. When she was pulled over by police, she tried to claim, oh, it's deer meat and blah blah blah. Just a disgusting fucking story. But again, apparently not as uncommon as we would like to think, and more under the table than we're told. So again, I'm going to play most of this in its entirety, right? And it's a fairly long one. I believe it's like 9 minutes, but it is worth listening to everyone's kind of point of view on it. Other than the people from the show, I do find that they kind of add a whole lot of nothing. Other than the lady that is being interviewed by, I believe it was CBS. Oh no, sorry, Long Crime Network. The lady he's interviewing is kind of the big dead giveaway, and she states many times that, and including this lady here, this blonde one, they state many times that they see these things often in cases, very often, but we don't hear about them very often. Again, a case like this we haven't heard about in over a year. So again, this is one of Child Protective Services failures, and they leave kind of a lot to be asked. Of course, the father got blamed for this child's murder, the biological father that doesn't live in the house with him. Yet we never hear from the biological father. There isn't even anything online that I've found so far regarding the biological father's statement, what he found, what he noticed, if he had actually any custody of the child at all. But at the same time, when the mother was first found out about this, or this situation was first found out, and the boy was rushed to hospital, they stated very clearly that this was an ongoing thing. So over spans of many months, possibly a year. And there was no reports. The father, if he had custody of his son, didn't notice any of these bruises, marks showing up. Like, schools were never notified, or the school never called about it. Again, because the CPS basically gave no statement, their literal response at the end of this is no statement. Why? Most likely they knew, they didn't give a fuck, and they let this boy be murdered because, again, to them, children are just profits, right? They're just profits. That's it. That's all children are. You're just a number in a ledger. We've had people fucking come on here who used to work in the field with either police or whatever the case may be, and they have stated that these children are nothing but just profits. Once you're on the ledger, they don't give a fuck, right? And again, unless of course you're the dad, which they'll have no problems coming for you then, right? But I'm going to let this play in its entirety. It's actually 20 minutes, so I'll speed it up a little bit. It's quite long, but it is actually worth listening to and just kind of hearing what they have to say, what details we can get.
His siblings suffered unimaginable abuse and lived in fear every day. This was one of the worst cases we've seen.
Another child allegedly killed at the hands of his mom and her boyfriend. The latest jailed couple has been denied bond out in Michigan as the accusations against them are made public. We're getting insight on the investigation with former crime scene investigator and forensic expert Alina Burrows. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. A little 6-year-old boy, Giovanni Jennings, who was called Chulo by his family, died from horrific injuries that prosecutors say were the result of child abuse. July 30th, first responders were called out to a mobile home community in Oakland County, Michigan. Chulo was in one of those homes unconscious and with injuries all over his body. He was rushed to a hospital. He was transferred to a children's hospital, but he died around midnight. The little boy's mother, 25-year-old Elaine Jennings, and this mother's boyfriend, 32-year-old Daniel Giancana, were arrested originally on charges of lying to police and possession of weapons. But then on Friday, the prosecutors announced they were upgrading those charges. And before we even dive into that, and there is a lot to get into, I want to bring in former crime scene investigator and forensic expert Alina Burrows to talk about this. Alina, thanks so much for coming on. I want to get your take on the different parts of this investigation. But first, let me start. Have you heard about this case? Is it, or does this, maybe you haven't heard of it, but it's eerily similar to what you've seen before?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have heard of this case, and I could have predicted some of the details before I heard them because this is such a familiar story, sadly.
Yep. It's unfortunately, we've been covering a lot of them here on Sidebar, which, I think it aggravates and it frustrates a lot of people, as well as saddens us about why this is happening. But let's go through it. Because on Friday, the prosecutor in this case, Karen McDonald, held a press conference. Let's take a listen.
Last week, my office filed charges against his mother, Elena Jennings, and her boyfriend, Daniel Giancana, for lying to the police, and additional charges against defendant Giancana for improperly possessing weapons and ammunition because he was already a convicted felon. But it was clear from the evidence that we saw that there was a pattern of abuse that led to Chulo's death.
Yes,
My
James,
office,
this is
in
the
conjunction with
Michigan
the
boy
Madison Heights
story.
Police Department, has spent the last week performing an intensive review of every piece of available evidence, including cell phone evidence, photos, and evidence that was seized in search warrants. Combined, we have spent over 100 hours reviewing extremely disturbing videos and photos, as well as text messages and Facebook chats describing the horrific things that happened to this 6-year-old boy.
And it's our understanding the charges were upgraded to murder and first-degree child abuse. So, Alina, we are seeing this now in this day and age, practically in every case that we cover, this mountain of digital evidence for investigators and prosecutors to sort through. What's your reaction to those numbers we just heard?
It's an unfortunate circumstance that we see these child abuse and homicide cases occur so frequently. The amount of digital evidence that we're seeing, either communication via text message or social media, it ends up being more evidence to prove the case. So to me, it's a great thing to have. It's going to make the case a lot easier to charge.
And what's even more alarming is that reporting indicates that Jennings allegedly directed Giancana to abuse her own son, and the two had laughed about it on text message. That's the allegation, which, if true, I don't know, that feels like walking yourself straight into a conviction.
Yeah, certainly seems like an aggravating circumstance to me. This wasn't a child that was exhibiting terrible behavior. The child was trying to drink. The child was trying to look out a window. And the child was trying to urinate. And these are things that they're considering punishable offenses.
And according to the Special Victims Unit investigators, Chulo also had 2 younger siblings who seemingly had to witness this alleged abuse. The details are just absolutely atrocious. The Oakland County prosecutor explained what the state believes happened in that mobile home to just illustrate why the charges were upgraded.
As we carefully sifted through the evidence, what we found can only be described as horrific. The allegations are that Chulo was confined to a pen in the defendant's bedroom. He was beaten. He was bound to the wall by using a staple gun to his clothes to the wall, which forced his face into a corner. He was badly injured, but he was not taken for medical treatment because his mother knew that a medical examination would reveal the abuse. And
Alina, that is eerily similar to what we've heard in the past. Maybe
Yes.
Your reaction during it, but the idea that they don't want to take him to medical professionals because, they don't want to get in trouble.
Right. It's probably the same reason that he wasn't in school. I know in the state of Michigan, school's not mandatory until the child's 6 years old. So depending on when his birthday fell, he should have either been enrolled in school or being actively attending school. And a lot of times when law enforcement becomes aware of abuse, it's through teachers. I've worked plenty of cases where a child maybe dirtied up their shirt on the playground and the teacher goes to change their shirt and sees scarring or bruising or pattern injuries that indicate child abuse. So it doesn't surprise me that the parents were either trying to keep him out of school or certainly not calling for medical attention.
Well, and let's be clear about this. So first of all, we're going to get into more of the idea of the physical evidence or the actual evidence that would back up these claims in a minute. But this is the mother and the mother's boyfriend, because here's what's happening with the father. Investigators say that Jennings lied to them, that she pointed the finger at Chulo's biological father. So police end up arresting the dad, but they determined he wasn't anywhere near Chulo during the time that he died. And prosecutors say they officially eliminated him as a suspect. Alina, is that common? Pointing the finger at another parent, at another caretaker?
Yeah, I've frequently seen not as much the biological parent, but a boyfriend or somebody that's in the house not especially one that's related to the child, but perpetrating the abuse. And then it's not uncommon to see them put the child, depending on age, put the child in a playpen or in a carrier, or do something, and then just say that they happened upon the child and the child was unconscious somehow. And then autopsy obviously would reveal further, but this isn't a surprising circumstance.
Or especially if there's a custody dispute, not a custody dispute, they have a custody arrangement, and the child goes to live with one parent for a weekend, comes back, and if they die, there's so many times they'll be like, well, it was something from the parent did over the weekend, and then you're dealing with the timing of the injuries, the proximity of the injuries, how quickly the injury resulted in the death, and that becomes kind of a complicated situation too when you're seeing joint custody of a child.
Definitely, but when we look at things like bruising, anybody that's ever received a bruise knows that it goes through stages. And it initially might be red, and then it goes through like a purple blue stage. And then the very last stages of bruising are like a yellowish or a green. So there's a pattern of abuse that we see here through multiple injuries. And then these bruising almost have a time stamp or a date stamp on them. So within a window, you can't say that the child was abused 24 hours ago if he has green, yellow bruising, because those are clearly healing and are past that stage. So I'm sure that was one of the first things they're looking at, are the injuries consistent with the timeline given?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because the chief prosecutor, unfortunately, we have to go through this because it's important to understand why the charges were upgraded and what the evidence is. The chief prosecutor listed the parts of Chulo's body that were injured during this alleged pattern of abuse.
Photos taken during an autopsy in Wayne County revealed that Chulo had bruising and laceration on his entire body, including to his scalp, temples, lips, inner mouth, cheeks, forehead, chin, shoulder, forearms, fingers, thumbs, back, buttocks, inner thighs, knees, and shins. Notably, Chulo had pervasive bruising to his abdomen, which was also bloated and distended. He had an apparent BB wound to his shin. First responders and emergency room personnel noted extensive external injuries as well. Cell phone evidence has revealed that Chulo Jennings was being severely abused by the defendants. Chulo was beaten by Giacchina on multiple occasions. While that abuse sometimes happened while Jennings was at work, Jennings was aware of it and approved of the physical assaults, and at times even encouraged Giacchina to abuse Chulo. The abuse involved physical violence and assault, including shooting at Chulo with a BB gun. For punishment, Chulo was confined to a pen in a corner of Giacchina's and Jennings' bedroom, where he was left to try and sleep on a wooden slat measuring 11 inches by 36 inches. A black curtain was put in place so Chulo couldn't see out, and barricades were used to keep him in place.
This is such scary stuff. And you think to yourself, how can people allegedly do this? What do you even know about the people in your life? What do you even know about the people you surround yourself with? It's scary to think about. But that is why we are so excited to partner up with TruthFinder. This is a sponsor of Sidebar. This is a service that can maybe provide you some answers, because it's one of the largest public records search services in the United States. You go on their website, truthfinder.com, you type in a name, and within minutes and a paid subscription purchase, you can access unlimited reports that can include information like phone numbers, location history, criminal and traffic records. Also, if you type in an address within a report, it can show you registered sex offenders that may live in an area, which is just honestly kind of wild to see. So whether it's researching new dates or friends or reconnecting with people, TruthFinder is a great tool. And right now, you can get
Oh, sorry about that, guys. I wanted to answer address the questions that were asked there. I totally forgot to turn off the mute button. Thank you, buddy. I don't know exactly what was reported to CVS, and again, the details are kind of sparse on this. But apparently, the father, the biological father of the second child, which was a daughter, actually did report things to CVS of what was going on in the house, because they were essentially targeting this child specifically, right? And again, they immediately pointed the blame at the biological father of the boy, right? And he was arrested. He was picked up by police just like that, with no questions asked, no looking into it, whether or not he actually had any custody of the kid or not, or had any visitation. He was still picked up immediately. He was picked up immediately, taken in for questioning, and released just after, because there was nothing to actually link him to this boy's abuse, right? But again, as they stated in the autopsy report, this was not a new thing. They set up cameras, and I believe they'll go into this eventually. They set up cameras. They have corresponding text messages going back and forth talking about new and exciting ways to abuse this little boy. And again, nothing was said about that. They were never caught beforehand. And to go back to Hemi's question, you know what? She probably will get a plea deal. She may get 6 months to a couple years, but she will not spend the time in prison that the boyfriend did, even though she was probably the entire instigator of this. I mean, let's face it, she's still the biological mom. She was there first. She generally has more say over everything. She was definitely the ringleader in this, but she had such a sick, twisted, boyfriend that, again, they were like two minds alike. And he will most likely go to jail for possibly 15 to 25 years. We don't know. However, just like in the last case we covered, I mean, that lady got 6 years, I think. And without a doubt, she'll be out in 3, if not less, because, they'll do the good behavior thing. Although they said they wouldn't, they will, right? So again, we aren't getting a lot of details. I'm willing to put my life on it that CBS or CPS has a literal fucking Bible's worth stacked up of reports coming in about this mother and boyfriend abusing children, and they did fucking nothing about it because they were already in their system, right? They had no need for them. They had no need to intervene. It was set up the exact way that they wanted it. Again, the CPS workers work with the family courts, which we all know are as corrupt as fuck, right? They're the ones that basically guide the courts on, here's where we think placement should be. And we've had lots of videos come out of CPS workers basically stating that they don't believe that fathers should have any access to their children because of their personal bias towards men and, family separations. Again, the list is endless on how corrupt this fucking group is. And there's no hiding from it. There is no hiding from it. But when the group who works for the government or is a branch of the government, which is, corrupt to its fucking core, comes out and states, we just don't want to give any comment because we don't want to incriminate ourselves, all of the other medias just, yep, no problem. Good enough for us. We'll leave you alone. They're never held to any account whatsoever. None. So again, whether or not we're going to actually get any results here or anything good comes out, I am really curious if they picked up the father, when that father's statement is going to come out. When are we going to actually hear from the father, or is anybody even going to be willing to interview him? Because let's face it, we all know he's going to have a very fucking different story. Very different. Whether or not he's been announcing to the police or CPS or whoever, the family courts, notifying them of ongoing abuse or what he believes was ongoing abuse, there has to still be reports somewhere. And again, the fact that they haven't even tried to reach him. Normally, if they try to reach out to the father, they would say, oh, well, we tried to reach out to the father, but he wasn't available or wasn't willing to do an interview right now or at this time. We're not seeing any of that. Any of the stories revolving around this case, we're not seeing any of that. They are definitely keeping him on the back burner for a reason, and it's not uncommon for them to do that. That's why we have, a bunch of TikToks, YouTube videos, what's the other one? Instagram videos of fathers trying to plead with people to get the attention towards the case that they have, where there's these ongoing crimes to their children happening, and because CPS and the family courts are out here to make money off of this kid, they don't give a fuck, plain and simple, right? And it's ongoing and never ending. But what I like to point out is that throughout this whole thing, you kind of notice that tone where oh yes, we see this so often. We can predict what's going on. Like the lady said at the start of their interview, she stated that, yeah, I predicted a few things that were going on before I even heard this case. And it's like, yeah, it's going on, and you're not doing fuck all to bring it to anyone's attention because you want to keep the dark side off your books. Because again, everybody profits when children suffer, right? When you're talking about the extortion fucking courts, that is the family court, everybody profits. Why the fuck would they give that up? I mean, in the US, it's still a $82 billion a year industry, right? And again, there are lots of people out there, maybe can explain it a lot better than I can, than you can. They literally specialize in these cases or in the family court case, and they will fucking tell you that their data that shows that mothers, especially single mothers, turn out children that are 10 times worse than single fathers could, that the absence of a father in a child's life, whether it be a boy or a girl, is completely detrimental to that child's future. They still keep that on the hush hush or on the down low, or they ignore it altogether. I mean, if you were to look up today what the abuse rate of children is between men and women, right? You will most likely find on your standard Google search that men abuse children or murder children at a rate 3 times more than women. And it is completely unfucking true. Completely untrue. We have had people from the other side of the aisle, right? And I know Pops did a stream with Karen Strong the other day, and they mentioned one lady who was actually a founder in the UK of a women's battered shelter, right? Now, she wasn't at the time, I guess, a staunch feminist. It was just a place for battered women and children to go. And she started noting that, hey, women are still abusing the fuck out of their kids, even though they're coming to our service, right? As soon as she tried to get that out there, she was forced out of her own organization and so ridiculed that she left the country with her husband. I believe she was somewhere in London initially to start, and they ended up moving to Australia, and now I do believe she is back in London again, according to what they said. They were actually wondering if she was even still alive. And again, this woman can tell you fucking horror stories. I can't remember her name. I will have to look it up again, though. She was telling horror stories that would make your fucking eyes spin. And again, it's so common. And when somebody tries to talk about it or do something about it, whether it's a men's shelter here in Canada, where a guy was working on it for 25 fucking years and bullied so hard that he actually ended up taking his own life, doesn't matter. They will keep it silent. They will fudge the numbers however they want, and these people will fall to the wayside because, again, it's not a popular narrative, right, that they want to push. Again, it's all about getting control over people, getting the funding control, and there's really only one best way to do that, and that is to use women to get the children and so on. and so on and so on. But when these children are murdered on their watch and they just get to walk away and say, oh, yeah, we have no comment. Well, fuck. You might as well say they pulled a Castro, right? We all know what Justin Castro does when he goes to court. He goes to court. I don't have to answer any questions. And at the end of this, I get to fucking walk away. We've seen it so many fucking times. Well, now CPS is essentially doing the same thing. So again, they're never going to be held to account. Never. Right? Sorry, I'm just trying to keep up with the chat here. I do have the link up there for you guys if you want to pop in. I have invited a couple people through basically email and text to come in who are specialists. I've actually reached out to Paul Elam and Tom Golden to see if they would want to come on tonight, or maybe even pop in and give their 2 cents worth. Because again, we're all kind of new to this. These guys were professionals, right? They have been in the mud for decades. They are telling the exact same thing. And no matter what, it never wants to reach the public ears, right? Even when the public do get to hear it, they don't want to believe it. They want to just push it aside because, again, it's not a popular narrative. And let's face it, when these children are in the system, when fathers are on child support and never getting access to their kids, they profit. It is a money game. Okay, so I'm going to shut up and we'll finish this. But before we go any further, Brother Singletown Bachelor, how are you, sir?
Great. Can you hear me?
Well, I'll have some luck. You never know. He might show up. If he does, awesome. If he doesn't, fine. The invitation's always open to everybody. So how's things on your end, buddy?
Oh, well, we are like America and Kazakhstan circling the drain per usual, because America is the biggest exporter of feminism, and
Oh, absolutely.
and corruption is the key.
Well,
That's
Singletown, we've talked for a couple years, and I've said it almost every day for 2 years straight, that it's not that there are branches of our government that are corrupt. Okay, the entire tree is made of corruption.
yeah.
All of it. It's literally built on a foundation of corruption, right? And we are both the cattle to the slaughter and the grass that they feed on, right? That's all we're seen as. And when people try to stand up for themselves, we see what we have in Ireland and in England there, right?
Grass. Lawnmower man. Anyone?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking wood chipper like the other guys.
Yeah.
We need more wood chippers. Let's make wood chippers great again.
Yep. Oh, damn.
I don't know if you were familiar with this story or not, but again, this
No.
is one of the horror stories that has come out of the U.S. And let's face it, for every one of these that we get, that we're notified of, there are literally thousands that we probably don't hear about, that are ongoing, that are known. And again, CPS, Child Protective Services, whatever they are called where you are, they don't give two fucks. They are there to profit off of you. They are there to get you in a ledger, get your children in a ledger so that they can say, we need more funding. Here's our numbers. And once that happens, fuck them. Fuck the kids.
The
right?
law in Denmark is slightly or being I won't say rolled back, but is they have known for some years that they needed to do something about that, because it came up in the press, and they all of a sudden had a problem with that, because they could see that that most women would be playing that game, that having the men or their exes paying up for ludicrous time. So actually, here in Denmark, the law actually state that you start at 50-50 custody by default.
Really?
Yep.
So you got a place for all of us to crash in Denmark when we immigrate, or if things change?
Well, let's say that I have my little plot of land, so you can crash up there. So be my
Perfect.
guest.
Yeah, I mean, I know how to make things work in the woods, and if your neighbors complain, I just give them the finger. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, when
Or just showing them your Bowie knife.
well, yeah, I forget. No guns there, right? Or lots of guns? I forget.
No guns officially, but we have the black market. So
Okay, so will I be able to get armed? Is the question.
yeah,
Okay.
you don't know anybody who would sell you a AK-47, but who knows?
Hey,
The
we'll figure it out.
Swedes are proliferant in tossing grenades at people. So why not
Really?
AKs? Oh yeah, look it up.
Wow, they're giving out free grenades. Are they coming with pins or without? I
Safety
would
pins
prefer
off.
they throw. Oh, they take the pins off. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
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 Actually, Brian Rovero's got
Ooh,
his AK-50.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting gun build. I actually saw a video from him recently where apparently the new Call of Duty has copied his gun and put it in the game without even like asking him for permission or offering him any kind of fucking like royalty for it or nothing. And he did a video on it just this past week, which was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Seraphim, no, not all Swiss are armed because they have a sense of I don't know what's called, but men and women are called upon to do some service.
okay, so
And
they have mandatory. Yeah,
part
they
of
have
it is
mandatory service, right?
men and women. Yes.
Yeah, mandatory service for all citizens in Sweden.
No,
Right?
no, Switzerland. No.
Oh, Switzerland.
Yeah. That's a total different ballgame. They have. I saw a video where 400, the number 400,000 were mentioned, but yeah, it's like the Swiss has a FN FAL. So hey, 400,000 pieces of FN FALs in there.
Okay, so we're going to stay at Seraphim's. Is that what we're saying? We're all, buddy, open up your basement and your extra rooms and dust things off. We're coming.
Well, or
We'll do mandatory
build
service.
out extra. Build out extra.
Yeah.
In the ground.
Yeah.
Why is there a wall here?
Hey, we will help you redecorate and rebuild shit. Okay, don't worry about it. Either way, we have to get out of these fucking liberal countries because here they're trying to do the same thing as they've done everywhere else, right? Liberal government, they will ban everything soon.
Yeah,
And
because
again,
the only people who are allowed to eventually to have guns is the private security.
yeah, private security.
Why do they do that? Well, why? No, you are not. When people say no, you have private security, you have armed guards. Why? No guns, no nothing. Yes, yeah. Style, yeah. Style August, yeah.
All right,
Peace.
well, we're gonna bring in Mr. Outlaw because he's here. What's up, buddy?
What's going on?
Going on.
Not much. Not
Yeah,
much.
so-
Like I said, I want to get through this one because there are some very telling details in the second half of this. I would like to skip through this guy's bloody ad,
You know,
but I guess I'm not going to be allowed to.
Mitchell.
Yeah, buddy.
One extra thing is that I want to tell you that my daughter was actually telling me that oh no, when they were up to at a school far away actually from me, it would take me over 2 hours to reach that, and her mother and her stepfather it would only take them 1 hour, and she said, "Oh no, mother is telling you that you didn't show up at our school much." Said, "Are you kidding me? Are you really believing that shit?" Um. So, oh, yeah,
Wait, so your daughter's mother told her that you didn't show up for something?
yep,
Sorry.
yep,
So
several
are you
times.
saying that your ex-wife or
Mhm.
baby mama is now gaslighting your kid?
Oh yeah,
Surprise, 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 surprise.
yep. Oh yes, and that's why that she's actually what was it? Early this year that she was actually moved out of her home and living with her boyfriend at this moment. So I like that very much, even though
Hmm.
it's even further away where she lives. But hey, if she gets out of the claws of my ex, it's a win.
Yeah, yeah. No, any distance you can put between your ex and your kid, especially when they're like that. And again, I have one of those, right?
Yeah,
We all know the story of when my boy reconnected with me and then disappeared for a while and came back a completely different person. They went on the brainwashing program, right? To basically turn me into the greatest enemy you could ever fucking have when it came to being a father to this little boy or even his younger siblings. Again, apparently that's not a crime anymore, right? Um,
yeah,
because of who's doing the perpetrating, essentially, right?
yeah.
And again, these are cases where like fathers still have some involvement in their children's lives. Let's face it, that is not the common factor, right? The more common factor is that the dad has been completely removed from the child's life, again, through CPS's fucking involvement and the family courts, right? And then everybody gets a free for all on this young child's mind, right? My little boy is only 5, right? My youngest. We have been together almost every day for 5 years of his life, right? You could take him tomorrow, and within at least a year, you can completely convince him that everything he thought he knew about his relationship with his dad, which has been mostly good, right? Uh, is either not real or that I've done something to basically get away from him, to disown him myself, right? And again, that's what these people do. They're evil fucking people, but they're encouraged to be evil, right? It's like I've said many times about giving somebody complete autonomy and releasing them of any consequence of law, right? Even the most saintly Christian person, if you said, hey, no matter what you do today or from now on, it's completely legal, you will never be held to account, the nicest, kindest, general, what we would consider saintly like person will eventually test that out. Right now, whether or not you'll get a fucking serial killer out of it, I don't know. But let's face it, most people are not even that good when they start off, right?
Right.
So making a monster is very fucking easy. So anyway, let's get through this. We got another probably 9 minutes worth that's worth watching.
50% off of your first month of confidential background reports. Just go to truthfinder.com/LC sidebar. Alina, we may not have Chulo here to explain what happened to him, but so many times in these cases, the autopsy, the injuries tell us the story and tell us the truth of what happened, right?
100%. And in this case, having significant injuries all over his body, both external and internal, is going to paint the picture of that pattern of abuse. We have physical evidence in this case. We have testimonial evidence in this case. We have digital forensics in this case. So while this is certainly terrible for us to look at, I don't think this case is going to be particularly challenging to prosecute.
Have you ever heard, every child abuse case is pretty graphic and terrible, but there's certain elements to this one that I haven't even heard before, the stapling to keep somebody in place. What do you make of this?
It unfortunately looks like in this case, when we see biological parent and step parent or biological parent boyfriend scenarios, it looks like they're almost using the abuse of this child as an experience to bond them in their relationship. Many times we see somebody acquiescing to the other that have differing opinions on how to punish a child. But here it actually looks like they were relishing this and using this as an experience to become closer as a couple.
Yeah. And before I even go into the next piece of evidence, is that the text messages, the injuries, the physical evidence from the home wasn't enough. I'll get to something else in a second, but so common in these cases, right, is, well, the injuries could have been caused because the child is messing around. They're on the jungle gym, they fall down. They use the idea of the youth of the victim to say they're tumbling around. It's their own, they have knocks and injuries all over themselves. They always have injuries. Children always have injuries on themselves. But what's the difficulty for defendants like these defendants in this kind of case?
Kids are going to have injuries, certainly. And any parent knows where those injuries are. They're on knees from falling down, skinning knees, falling off bikes, elbows, any areas of prominence. When we see things like what I would expect on this autopsy, he's got bruising certainly covering the vast majority of his body. That is not normal unless the child has a medical condition that leaves them very prone to bruising or to injury. So it's okay for a child to have a few bruises here and there on an elbow or a shin. It's not okay for the child to have injuries on buttocks, on thighs, on their scalp, on their legs, on their arms, on their face. And what I would anticipate would be injuries on the interior lips. A lot of times, forcefully putting a hand over the face will cause the teeth to bruise the softer tissues of the mouth. Those are not typical injuries that a child would receive from playing.
Now, you remember I said there was another piece of evidence? Well, prosecutors say that Jennings and Giacchina, they bought a home security camera, and they set it up to monitor not intruders like normal people would, but rather to monitor this 6-year-old boy as he was essentially confined to a corner in the room. That's the allegation, that the two would allegedly watch the camera feed, punish Chulo for any misbehavior like urinating, drinking, leaving in the corner, looking out the window. Again, more potential digital evidence for investigators used to potentially convict the couple. Alina, I'm surprised that if they were so concerned about getting caught and wouldn't even want to go to, a medical examiner, medical professionals to treat the injuries because they were afraid of getting caught, why would they document it like this? That's the part that seems so strange.
Absolutely. And when we see child abuse on children who receive injuries on a routine basis, oftentimes the parents do try to keep the injuries somewhere where clothing would conceal it so that if they're out in public, nobody can recognize this. So we see a lot of injuries on the back or the stomach, things that a regular t-shirt would cover. Here, it doesn't seem like the parents are concerned about injuries showing on most parts of his body. The fact that they, purchased this camera, indicates too that they took time. They're taking time to think about this. This is not a spur of the moment. The child's done something terrible and they, grab him and, give him punishment. This is a well thought out, timed. They're spending money on this. There are a whole lot of things here, in addition to the fact that they're creating more evidence that are going to end up helping the case.
Prosecutors, they also found guns in the home, including a ghost gun, which is an unregistered firearm that's compiled from different parts, from different places, so it's untraceable. Take a look at this.
A photograph recovered from the cell phone analysis depicts Giacchina in the middle of 2 young children who are handling the ghost gun and the BB gun. On July 26th, a photo from Jennings' phone depicts 2 children who are each pointing a gun at a third child. The third child has his hand up, and the laser from the ghost gun is illuminating his hand.
As if that wasn't terrifying enough, it gets even worse because Chulo's 4-year-old sibling participated in a forensic interview with special victims investigators and said that the two had been shot with a BB gun at one point too. Investigators even, and this is what we heard in the press conference too, that investigators reportedly found BBs in the wall of the home. And there is one line from the reporting that gets me particularly. It's that this 4-year-old allegedly told investigators, quote, "Chulo died all day and Danny was there." meaning Giacchina. Alina, talk to me about forensic interviews with children, because I imagine that has to be a very, very delicate but important part of the investigation.
Extremely important. Children are susceptible to having adults lead them in a certain direction. So that person that's conducting that interview has to be very cautious and ask a lot of open-ended questions. For instance, you can't say, "Did you see so-and-so shoot with a BB gun?" Because then they have the imagination, they have this idea that took place. So you would have to just ask them, what happened? What have you seen? Did you see Danny that day? Did you see Chulo that day? But that quote just sums up the horror and the innocence of all of this.
And you might be asking, well, where was Child Protective Services, right? Where was CPS? Yeah. Well, when asked about whether CPS had been contacted about Chulo or the suspects before, the DA said she couldn't comment on that.
All children have a right to grow up in a home free of fear. This child and his siblings suffered unimaginable abuse and lived in fear every day. My office and the Madison Heights Police Department are committed to using every resource available to us to get justice for Chulo and hold the people responsible for his death accountable, and to seek punishment that reflects the horror of his death.
So, Alina, yes, hopefully that's true, and hopefully they're able to fully prosecute this and get justice. But the other, and look, the two individuals here are innocent until proven guilty, although, as we mentioned, the evidence looks really, really bad against them. I am curious about why no comment regarding CPS. Is it because it's too early in the investigation?
That kind of stood out to me as well. Maybe they aren't willing to release names of people that, maybe alerted CPS to this. I'm not really sure exactly what that means. But I would have to think that somebody outside of these two individuals and the children knew this was occurring. Do you never have somebody over to your house? Do they never see this child, ask about this child? Somebody had to have known, and it had to have been excused away as, well, he was being bad and he had to be punished. This just tells us all that we have a role in this. We all have to take a responsibility. If we see a child with injuries like these, if you're out shopping and you see this, make a call. The worst thing that happens is there's nothing to investigate, and the best thing that happens is you save somebody's life.
I hate covering these kinds of cases. I really do. They're the toughest for me to cover. But I always say to myself, it's important, honestly, to get the story out for the particular victims and their family members. But like you said as well, this could be eerily similar to something that somebody else is observing right now. And if it's a way to save or protect a life, that's honestly the silver lining in all of this. But it is such a tragic case, and our hearts and prayers go out to Chulo's family. Alina Burrows, thank you for coming on. Before I let you go, where can people find you? Where can they learn more information?
Okay, guys, and that's pretty much the end of that. But I mean, I was kind of surprised that she even was surprised that CPS had nothing to say, and again, there were no reports, right? Yet they managed to pull another person into this, which was the biological father, and try to pin the blame on him. Where are his reports? They exist. They exist, okay? Let's face it, when you have a vindictive mother like my ex, right? They give you all the real fundamental cards to basically repaint them as the actual perpetrator rather than, one of the victims. So when this guy was definitely looking for any reason to get more time with his kid or even get full custody of his kid, are you saying that he didn't notice any of this and didn't report it? Because when I called CPS, regarding incidents with my ex-wife, I was told that I'm full of shit and I was just brushed right off. Is that what happened here? And now that the little boy is dead, everybody's looking for someone to blame. But CPS, of course, can never be held accountable. Family court could never be held accountable. Well, what's the deal? Right?
Well, we have to do it ourselves, don't we?
I guess. And, me personally...
Listen, we're paying the cops over our taxes, right? And and they are supposed to uphold the law. And when they don't, and they are full of crap, like the British police are, we just simply have to deal with whom are on the right side of of the case who is not involved into this and who is being dragged into it. So I hope for the father of that kid is suing the living crap out of both CPS and the police, and of course they
Well,
want to they want to bury it, like the
and
Trump shooter all of a sudden just vanished.
well, again, it doesn't profit them to fucking prosecute their own.
No, but
And we might as
the
well face
people.
facts. The evidence is all there. If we don't hold them to account, and I mean, like, I'm with Pops on this when I say fucking crosshairs and rifle barrels pointed at courtrooms should be an everyday fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
That is the only way we're going to get to hold them accountable for anything, because we are never going to be able to use the law. We have seen fathers go to the Supreme Court laying out all the evidence after the fact that his child has been murdered by the mother, right? Presenting all the cases, all the documents that they had regarding, the warnings that were there, that he presented to the local authorities, to the fucking courts in his local area before the child was murdered. Nothing was done. He was ignored. He was, brushed aside because there were profits to be made. And even after the child was murdered by the mother and he went to the Supreme Court, it still fell on deaf fucking ears. It fell on complete deaf ears. They didn't want to hear it because they profit from it too. Their group is their group, and you are just cattle. Okay? We don't need the cattle coming and telling us that cutting steaks out of it is a bad thing, because I like some steak. Right?
Well,
Oh yeah.
that father should everybody who has been not paying attention to what was done, all the social workers, everybody who is just no, just nothing, and trying to paint the bio father. He should just take them all in and just systematically take them out.
There you go.
Yeah, because when you don't get the rights, the court system should be supposedly be fair and square, right? There's no business in it,
Well,
isn't there?
again, that's what they like to claim. But, the family court, the family court's model. It's all in the best interest of the children.
Well,
Yeah, that is the last
Danish
factor they fucking bring in. It's all in the
Danish
best interest of their pocketbook.
Danish
Right.
court is a bit different, because all the money that I paid my exes was not through the court system; it was directly to her bank account. The court system doesn't, in Denmark anyway, doesn't get any of that.
Well, I mean, bravo to Denmark if that's the case. It's a rare thing.
Yeah.
Even the whole starting off at 50-50 custody, if you had to propose that here, right? Here in Canada, this progressive fucking place, if you had to propose that here, you would be fucking booed out of the courts. You would be, or Congress, wherever. Even politicians have stated that, where what's his name? Warren Farrow, right? The writer behind The Boy Crisis, which is a great book. If you guys want to check that out, it is on Audible, and I totally recommend it. And Warren really does have a straight and narrow, like, let's go along and get along together for the best interest of everybody involved, right? He's not a malicious person. He doesn't come off as that anyway. And, you know, his opinions on it are very middle of the road compared to most of us, right? And he has stated that, you know, they've spoken to politicians about making parental custody, even in their state or whatever, a 50-50 kind of like starting line. And the politician said to them, yes, I agree with this, but if I were to propose it tomorrow, I would never get elected, because every woman's group out there would be fucking destroying me. So they have a line to toe as well. And again, the kids' lives don't matter, right? The well-being of the children don't fucking matter over getting reelected, getting into office, getting paid from federal funding. It won't matter, right? I don't know if you've met many CPS workers, definitely none here, but the ones that are actually signing up to be child protective services workers are some of the most sick and twisted fucking people out there. Like, they should never pass any type of mental exam. You know what I mean? Never. They are twisted people. And again, the woman that came out, I believe she was in Arizona. I believe it was an older black woman, came out in Arizona and plainly said, look, I don't believe that fathers should have any access to children once they separate from their mother, or if there's a separation going on with the mother. She still has a job today, by the way. And again, she just told the truth, right? She has a bias. And when you have a bias towards, you know, the other party because of their sex, you should be the last fucking candidate to make a fair decision, right? And again, the courts only go off of what CPS recommends.
That's a long time, man. I feel for Seraphim. It hurts me to a degree.
Buddy.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, I last seen my kids in person back in 2016. You know, again, when my oldest finally reached out to me via Facebook because he had no supervision late at night, right? And you know, was happy to reconnect with me. As soon as he was found out by his mother, he disappeared for months. And then once he was sufficiently brainwashed, he got his electronics back, right? And accidentally re-messaged me, because I messaged him every morning and every night for months. And he accidentally messaged me back when he was up by himself at 2:30 in the freaking AM for some damn reason, right? Because again, mothers don't really have great parental structures when it comes to children. He was a completely different person. A completely different person. He was the sweet, innocent little boy when I was last talking to him. And after he was brainwashed, I might as well have been talking to a 16-year-old thug out on the street. That's how quick it was. And again, she's got family members, right, that are single trash mothers from the get-go who are helping her by letting their children hang out with him, right, to promote the same fucking narrative. I like, what do you do with that? How do you combat that? You know what I mean? They have all the access and you have none. It's like I said, with my 5-year-old today, you could take him away tomorrow, right? brainwash him or start the brainwashing, and within a few months, he will not remember any of the good times that we had together. He will be your puppet, right? And you can pump into his head whatever you like, whatever narrative you want to push, because again, they're children, right?
Son husbands.
Yeah.
What's that?
Son husbands.
Yes,
Yeah.
son husbands. Yeah, that's
They're
basically what they
developing.
become. Yeah.
They're developing. So anything you teach them, that's what they're going to remember.
Well, you know what? I'll make the claim here, and I hope somebody clips it and puts it out there, and fucking, eventually Pierce Morgan may call me up and ask me, why do I think this way? I will state it here and now. I believe wholeheartedly that giving mothers sole custody is the worst thing you can do for a child, because they are the greatest threat to that child's well-being in every aspect. They should not have access to their kids at all unsupervised.
Here's the thing, and all of us here knows MGTOW or red pill alike. Why would you expect children to be raised by bigger children? Because that's what women are. They're basically bigger children.
Of
mentally.
course. Of course.
They haven't grown up themselves.
I mean, that's proven, right? We have clear professional therapists stating that most young women, once they lose their virginity, whatever age or mindset they are at, that's kind of where they stay, right? And let's face it, it really does look like that. When you get to know somebody and you find out their past, right, you can almost see where they stayed mentally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mentally and emotionally, they stay in almost like a frame of childhood. And again, it's promoted, right? It's promoted throughout the world. It is promoted in our colleges, and that's where like Janice Fiamingo, she talked about it all the time, right? When she first hit the high schools and colleges in Ontario, she made those one-to-one correlations a lot of the times, and basically laid out the blueprint for the catastrophe that we fucking have today, right? And again, no matter where you look, no matter what country, right? So it could be a big one, small one, even one that holds on to a lot of traditional values. If you allow certain unaccountability to happen, especially with young women, they believe they can take it all the way, right? I mean, I saw a video recently where police pulled over a drunk young woman. She was 19 years old. She had just ran over 2 people and killed them, right? And she was behaving like a little fucking child. No regard to what she just did, right? And the fact that 2 people's lives were literally taken by her impaired driving. She was planning out like her trip to fucking Vegas in a few months. And, oh, how am I going to get to school tomorrow if my car is all smashed up? And the police officer is literally explaining this to her like, look, you just killed 2 people with your car. You're not going to school tomorrow. You're going to jail, right? He told her that 5 or 6 times, and he was like, we're done here. Honestly, yeah. But she had no concept of any accountability for what she had just done, right? And even he stated, like, it's disgusting that you are not concerned and you have no empathy for what you've just done. You've just murdered 2 people with your vehicle, and you have no concept of what's about to happen.
No.
Right? As a 19-year-old woman, she had no concept of a consequence. None.
Well,
No concept of a
tell you,
consequence whatsoever.
I can tell you that she's voting for demo rats.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And you know what, Radical? You're absolutely right. Children with breasts. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Guys, I need
Sure.
to leave the stream. It's getting late, and I have a 10 minutes to Hammer Hands stream, so I will bid you farewell.
All right, brother. Well, thank you for
brother.
coming on and hanging out today. I know we don't get to chat much because of the time difference, but you know, you're over there in bigotry land, obviously.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I can tell you that you have 14 listeners, so kick that like button. You know, you're bigots. Come on.
Yeah, you bigots. Yeah, bigots.
Yeah.
No, well, thank you for coming, buddy. And again, I appreciate you hanging out for a little bit, and hopefully we'll get to do it more often.
You never know. See you guys.
See you later,
Thank you,
brother.
buddy. Hopefully somebody is D-Man here. D-Man, you got to post links, brother. We got to get you on the links, but go check out Singletown Bachelor and MGTOW Outlaw. They have their channels as well. I know we have the Sunday sermon coming up here right away, and I definitely don't plan on missing that either.
Heck yeah,
Should
man.
be a good one regarding, you know, what it seems to me anyway is going to be the difference between the boomers and, you know, today's modern man and what they're looking at, right? Boomers tell us to go get married all the time. Let's face it, we all know that that ain't a fucking good idea, but they don't see it, right? Again,
Let's see. What is Hammerhand fixing to talk about?
Yeah, he is basically. It was a gentleman that made a rant regarding his son not wanting to date or marry in the modern world, and of course, he has no understanding of it, right?
Yeah.
Trust me, buddy, if you fucking go through the family court system and get fucking used like we do, or your children get taken from you, you get to realize it real quick, right? Now, again, I don't know this guy's whole backstory, but my parents, your parents, probably all went out and told you to do the same thing that they did because, hey, it worked for them back in the day. But they have no idea what the modern world is like, right? Even I will never forget this as long as I live. When I was first going through the separation, and I was actually back in Canada, and my ex-wife finally, you know, was losing the narrative surrounding our separation case, right, and the child custody thing. She had to take it to the next degree and just cut off contact with me and the children altogether, right? My own mother, okay, the grandmother of these three little boys, I was on the phone with her explaining like what was going on, and you know, I was obviously fucking down in the dumps. And again, I don't know if this was like the start of her mind starting to slip, you know, because she's quite old, right? But she said the weirdest thing, like, "Oh, well, that's terrible that she's done that, but I understand why." And I was just speechless. I was like, really? You understand why someone cut contact with 3 children from the other parent? Like, you understand why? And it's not just some random person. It's not like there was a history of fucking like violent abuse and shit like what we've just seen here tonight. This is her grandchildren and her son, and had the nerve. Like, again, I don't know if it's just a fucking mind slip or if it's just the woman hive mind, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, she had the nerve to state that she understood why my ex-wife cut off contact with me and our 3 children, and contact with everybody in the family. Again, you can't make this shit up. Like, you cannot make this absolute fucking insanity up. This is the way they think. And I love my mom to death. I really do. And you know what? She's had a shitty life, but hopefully the end of her life here now will be a little bit better, because we all had to intervene. But I don't know if it's something I'll understand or if I could ever forgive her for saying, really, like, I'm not talking to her or anything. It's just I can't even grasp where she comes from when she says something like that. Like, you understand why my ex-wife is alienating 3 little boys who love their dad to death, who spent almost every day of their life with him, and you understand why the other parent has literally just cut off all contact with him and everyone else in the family. Again, you have to be a fucking crazy person. Like, you have to be mentally ill at some point. You know what I mean? This has to, maybe woman brain should be listed as a mental illness. Let's face it, with over fucking 48% of them on head meds, we might as well just say womanhood is a mental illness. Fuck it.
What's I say?
And I'm saying that as a trans black woman, obviously, who's also a lesbian. I forgot to mention that earlier.
Well, a lot of
yes.
them grandmothers, once they get done raising their own kids, a sense of that purpose in their life does go away. And that's why they fight so hard with the younger generations to give them grandkids. My mother was like that. God rest her soul. She was like that. She wanted those grandkids around her at all times to give her something to do. And that's mostly what it is. They don't care what the man has to go through to have those kids, what he sacrificed. Give me something to do. That's what it comes down to. I'm bored.
Well,
they do it.
Hey, man, I love being around kids. I do.
Well, I do too.
I just, again, I don't understand why. And again, I don't have woman brain, despite being a trans black woman.
Either.
But I don't understand the concept other than just straight up hateful rage or like spite for why they do what they do. Again, I don't even want to fucking understand it. I want it to end, right? And again, the only way we're going to end it is if we can convince the government and the courts that it's in their best interest to separate mothers from their children, because let's face it, they're far too dangerous for their kids. What's up, brother Primo?
Let me tell you something. When that grandmother hits the wall, like all women will eventually, they lose a sense of purpose, right? They can't find men anymore like they used to. They don't feel attracted. Once, especially when they've raised kids, they feel like that's pretty much, they're getting close to the end of their lives, right? So when they have children that can give them grandkids, they're going to jump on it. They don't care come hell or high water. They want that man to give them grandkids, and they will.
But then what? How do you explain the other side of what she was just stating, right? Like,
now that I can't.
Like I said, it literally doesn't make any sense in any aspect. Forget even like knowing the people, right? But this is your grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
You understand, really? Because I don't fucking understand. Would you care to explain? Please elaborate all you want. Right?
I can't figure that one out either.
I believe what it is. Like I said, Outlaw, we know why the courts do it. We know why CPS do it. We even know why most women do it. It has nothing to do with the children. It has to do with profits and spite, right?
Chris,
just hateful vengeance.
I honestly believe it. Don't matter who it is, my mother included. I believe that once these women are born, they grow up being self-centered and entitled, growing up in a culture that fosters it. I believe that never leaves them. I believe they reach their grandmahood and they've still got that self-centered, entitled bitch think that they had when they were young women themselves. And again, it doesn't matter if you're a husband, a son, a daughter. They will always put themselves and what they want and need ahead of everybody else. That's just how they are.
Oh,
That's how they
absolutely.
are. And I think that's
Absolutely.
part of it. They don't have a problem sacrificing who they got to sacrifice to get what they want. And grandkids, for some of them, is what they want. It sucks, man. That's just
Well,
my opinion, and of course I could be wrong.
you could be wrong. What's the chances that you're not, though? Probably pretty high.
Mhm.
And speaking of trannies, here's Mr. Chaos. What's going on, buddy?
You
Mr.
know,
Chaos.
That's Captain Misogyny to you.
Oh,
Captain
sorry, Captain
Misogyny.
Misogyny.
How dare you assume my gender?
I mean,
Well,
Chris,
as your supreme bigot commander.
Yeah, you just yeah.
I mean,
sure.
Chris, honestly, brother, I mean, when a woman starts off life being catered to and self-centered and everybody okays it for her whole life, what changes when she gets older? What's
Yeah,
going to
exactly.
change about that? They get worse, right? They always
Yeah.
get worse.
My mom was born in the 60s. That's right around the time third wave feminism was rearing its ugly ass head, pushing the burn your bra, sleep with whomever you want. I
My
watched my mom do all the shit that in her older age, like when she hit her 30s, like after my dad killed himself and everything. I watched my mom regress into like a high school state of mind where she was dressing like she was in her, and she shouldn't have been dressing like that. It was no woman should be dressing like that around her fucking children.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
Right.
I've stated it
She
many
did it.
times. I had a
I watched her
sister.
fucking whore herself out to some
Yep.
old dude to get some money so she could put a roof, even though we were getting like she told us to lie to the SSI people so she could collect the disability or whatever. So from when my dad killed himself.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Again,
And
lying, manipulating, whatever it takes,
she
man. Whatever it takes.
she tried
They
to
have
buy
no
us off
problem
by
doing it.
buying us, she bought me a Nintendo 64 and a PlayStation. This is all hindsight shit right here. This is me thinking back on it now, like, holy fuck. Even in my mom's older age, she still pushed men do it. And I had to correct her, say some men do it. So two wrongs make a right if it's a small minority of people doing the bullshit. So that doesn't make sense. And she started to realize as more and more we would talk that the way she was thinking was fucked up. And my mom was a feminist. She wouldn't admit it, but she was.
How is it hard to sell somebody on no accountability and favoritism, no matter what?
Accountability in my mom, the piece of shit dad, the sperm donor she chose, that there's no accountability for that. You
Well,
fucking
no, of
chose
course
them,
not.
mom.
Of course
The
not.
You're the one that
But
laid with them and chose to
Again-
sleep with them and stay with them for 15 fucking
Again,
years.
the longer that they're enabled, right, the longer that people tolerate that behavior out of them, they don't get any better when they get older, guys. My mom was a saint of a woman too, but hell, she had her feminist side in her when you pushed her too far.
Of course.
No
And
different.
again,
Yeah.
to go back to the boy crisis book there, even if you just want to go on Audible and hear the first 4 minutes, they go over a scenario where they ask modern dads, right, or soon to be dads, what you would prefer to have, whether it be a boy or a girl, right, or a lizard. Although most men want to have sons, right, and again, most of us don't care. Well, as long as it's a healthy,
Oh
happy
no,
little baby.
I want boys. If it's a girl, I'm gonna be a shotgun dad straight up. That first boy she brings over, I'm gonna be cleaning that shotgun. Saying, you hurt my daughter, I'm gonna hurt you, boy.
Well, James,
But either way, they say that to get back to the point, they say that they would like to have sons, but because of the way the modern world is, they would rather have daughters.
Of course.
Yeah.
simply because her
That's
life is going to be easier,
Yes.
right, than his son's, and she's going to be looked after even if he's not there.
Women,
The white knight scenario is still all around us, right?
you mean the
women
son husband
understand
grooming?
women. Look, women find it easier to raise other women. They hate
Until
them
they
too.
become of age and start,
Yeah.
bringing boys around. Then the competition starts, and then
Again,
that
Usually it's the
whole hot
talking back.
mess. Yeah,
yeah, but
But
again,
my
like
mother's
James,
talking back.
like
My
James
mother
pointed out
stated-
here.
Sorry.
I mean,
Go ahead.
look, in this day and age, Chris and Cal, look, how hard is it to raise a child as a woman when you've got cell phones, you've got the internet, you've got video games, you've got other people doing the same. Can you really say that most of these women are even raising kids at all? They're not. They're not. How hard is it to stick a kid in front of a cell phone, which I can tell you because my nephew does that, him and his kids. They do that. Their child's only 4 and 5 years old, and they know how to play on a cell phone, video games. These women aren't really even raising their own kids. The
No.
internet is.
My niece
Well,
is a product of modern times. She was not raised by my parents. By her parents. She was raised by the culture and the media and shit. And it shows.
Paul's
women don't
statement
even know
here-
how to be parents. Go ahead.
Paul's statement here about, little kids asking why they can't go with you, why you can't take them, I've been there, buddy. I couldn't take my son out of the car, and he was crying and screaming in his car seat that he wanted to go with daddy. That was her product. That is something she created with the use of CPS and the family court. Okay? So when your kids are suffering
and
in this manner, you know who to fucking point the blame at. But again, they'll never be held accountable by anyone in their sphere, right? When it comes to kids now being raised by fucking electronics and shit, our neighbor here is watching their great grandson, right?
Mhm.
A product of a single mother. He's 9 years old, which again is fucking astronomical. I'm trying to do the math of how they became great grandparents of a 9-year-old when they're not that old, and we're talking teen mom, right? Kind of shit. She wasn't a teen though; she was like in her 20s, but whatever. And as soon as I met this kid and I stated it to Lisa, right? I was like, that boy is the product of a fucking single mother. And she was like, you don't know that, blah, 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 blah. So a couple days went by. He was back, right? Then again, nice enough kid, but he's a bit strange. I started asking him, like, I'm trying to figure out whose son he is, right? Because I know Scott's two oldest kids. That's her neighbor, right? The great grandparents. I know they're two oldest kids, and they're not old enough, or at least I thought, they're not old enough to have a grandson that's 9. So I thought. But as soon as I asked him that, I stay with my mom. We don't have a dad. I was like, called it.
I mean, Primo, that is dead on accurate what it is. I mean, these women love their daughters until they get old enough to be able to be competing with them for the, dating and relationship market. Women are, I know them. I know women like that. They are literally jealous of their own daughters, their own flesh and blood, because they're getting a better end of the deal than they had it when they were coming up.
My mom hated every single girlfriend I ever had as an adult. And I probably had 3.
She was gonna take your, her fucking son husband away. But
her money too. Oh no, she hated me because I didn't fall into the son husband thing like my brother did.
Oh, probably
my brother, big blue pill beta simp. I hate using that beta word, but god damn it.
He's a beta male.
That's a woman thing. That's a woman thing. Look, men don't get jealous of raising young men to go out into the world. That's a woman thing, getting jealous of their own daughters. Men
Well,
don't
yeah.
do that.
Because she sees the daughter out there having fun with the new guy, and she's like, I'm stuck here taking care of this ungrateful shit
Yes.
while she's getting piped down
Yeah.
by Chad over there. Damn, knowing good and well that Chad's a piece of shit, but hey,
Let me tell you,
the next
you
thing
two,
you know, why are you sleeping with my boyfriend, Mom? What the fuck, you whore? And then
you two know better than anybody. These guys in this chat know. Look, a woman loves to be a nurturer. That's what they are hardwired for. They're not going to come out and say it in this modern times, but they find purpose in raising children. Now,
because
when a
it's been deemed
grandmother,
weakness.
right, when a grandmother gets old enough to where she's raised her kids, quote unquote, raised them, her purpose is gone. Now the son, come on, son, you got to give me purpose again in my life. That's what it is. And they don't change. They get worse. They get more entitled. My mother was the same way. When you gonna get married, outlaw? Come on, give me grandkids. Come on.
Well,
My
you
mom
know,
asked me that one time. I said, you're going to have to talk to your sisterhood about that.
yeah, I think a lot of that though is that, again, in some cases they want you to either make the mistakes that they know you can make and that they've made, so they want you to be essentially just as fucked as they are.
They're miserable.
In other
My parents were the
cases,
example of what not
Miserable.
to be as parents. Thank God I had my grandparent, my mom dumping me on her parents was the smartest move she ever fucking made. And I know it hurt her to the core when I told her this, but I was right in saying it because my dad was a piece of shit. My mom wasn't that great of a mother. My grandparents showed me what a loving family is supposed to be like.
yeah, without a doubt. And again, it's not that I don't want to be a granddad someday, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem.
I still want to be a
what I generally
dad,
have a problem. Yeah, what I have a problem with is the fact that these groups like CPS, family courts, can be called in an instant, and your life is fucking destroyed.
Let me tell you.
Again, it doesn't matter what's true, it doesn't matter what's right, and it doesn't matter what's in the best interest of the child. They are looking to profit off you. When they get a phone call, all they hear is dollar signs, right?
A woman grows up knowing what a man has to do to make it in this life if he starts a family. They know that it requires work. They don't have a problem sending their sons into war or any, they don't care. They don't care what a son has to do to give them purpose back in their own life. That's how selfish women are. Now, the granddad don't mind if you have kids. Sure, he wants you to have grandkids, but he's not going to be as adamant about it as a grandmother is because the purpose in his life has already been fulfilled for the most part. Hers is constant, right? So
when you fight nature, you end up dyeing your hair pink or purple, shaving off all your hair and growing armpit hair and exhibiting the worst traits of men
Mm-hmm.
And they call that feminism.
Yes.
Who's got the best answer to when do you get married? Do you want to pay all my divorce bills?
Yeah, that is the great one. You know what? We should put that on a fucking t-shirt.
Trying to explain to these
little nice placard you can give to your mom and dad.
I work at a church. It's an Orthodox church, and a lot of these people are family. And they're like, why ain't you married? And I'm like, well, first, the sisterhood has deemed me unworthy. And secondly, why would I get married in this day and age with things the way they are? All she's got to say is she's unhappy, and then I'm out half of my shit. And I ain't got a lot already, but I don't want to lose what I got.
Well, like I said. Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, Outlook. Well, I was just gonna state, like, when it comes to your kids, man, you don't give a fuck about money. Like, have a look around at what I got. If you want it, you can have it. And if you can get me back my kids today, you are welcome to it. Right? Well, I can always go make more, but I'll never get the time back with my children. What's been stolen? Never. That is not
Right.
fucking coming back.
It's
Well,
also
like
the fear too. It's the whole process. I should have added that in there.
Well,
Oh,
like I did with that.
absolutely.
It's just
Like I did
investing
with-
all that time just to have it stripped away just because of her fucking feelings.
Well, like I did with that video yesterday, talking about alimony fixing to be shot down in Florida.
Mhm.
These divorce lawyers, these judges, they know that their money in that department's drying up. So they think by taking it off the books and I guess incentivizing men to get back out there and marry some more, the clientele will go back up. Again, they're one of the most dirtiest businesses out there. Their profit is in
absolutely.
people suffering, man. The more
Yeah.
people that suffer, the more money they make. And that's their
There's a
business
reason
model.
nobody's ever liked lawyers.
That's
And-
their
and here's-
business model.
Here's the thing, Outlaw. Yes, they might be looking to get rid of alimony, right?
Mhm.
But what else did they recently change?
Mm.
Just to increase their profits. What did they recently
Oh yeah,
change?
in order to give, they had to add some shit to make it possible.
Yeah, you damn right. No money's going to buy it back. But they changed it so that you now have to start paying child support from the day of conception.
Ooh, yeah, I didn't see that. But yeah.
But
yeah,
with
you don't
that-
remember
but
that
with
one from
that-
last year.
But I see with that though, mandatory DNA tests are going to
Where
start
did you
becoming a thing. No, I see that
Really?
becoming a thing though. With
Well,
they already started. I can't remember what state it was, but they have made it mandatory where you get where a DNA test at either. Yeah, DNA test is mandatory. That should
really?
be a
Because
thing.
in other places, they're literally removing
Yeah.
it from the
Let me
books
tell you.
so that you
me
can't
look it
get a
up.
DNA test. But
Well, yeah,
I would
across
love
the
to
pond,
see
of
that happen.
course. They're going to do that
Yeah.
across the pond, most
Let me
definitely.
tell you something, James. You know, and I've heard Chris and them say it, and I have to agree. Look, there is no telling why more judges aren't 6 foot under. There's no telling. The lawyers too. There's no telling how these motherfucking cocksuckers are still walking around like that.
Well, and
New
again,
Georgia law will allow DNA testing on paternity before child support.
well, that would be great. That
I
would
would
be
say
great.
just that as soon as there's a kid, get a DNA test because it's 1 in 3. I guarantee it was 1 in 3. I guarantee it's 2 and 3 or 3 and 3 nowadays. I even asked my mom, I'm like, "Are you sure I'm Randy's kid?" And she kind of looked at me like,
She probably
"Of
doesn't
course
know.
you are." And I'm like,
How-
"Are you sure?"
No, she
How
can look
in-
down between her legs after pushing you out and say that's her kid.
Of
But
course.
most of them cannot actually 100%
Because-
legitimately say that your dad is this guy.
I inherited a
Let me
lot
tell
of,
you.
and this is part of my fucked up. My uncle, from what my mom had told me, had raped her had raped her at one point in time. I inherited a lot of my uncle's fucking traits.
Right.
This is why I asked her in the first place, because I inherited a lot of his traits. And I've never really
Yeah.
been around the man. Like
How many
here and
times,
there,
though,
but
how many
and I knew
times
she was
have
a fucking
women
whore. I knew
claimed-
she slept around on my dad. And that's another reason
Yeah.
why I asked.
Yeah.
How many times have women said, "Oh, I went out and fucked around with these guys, but I'm going to
We
go
were
back to my boyfriend
separated.
or
That
husband
don't matter.
and
You
say
were
I
fucking
got
married
raped"?
still. It's like we
I
were
got
separated.
raped.
It don't fucking matter.
No.
Oh yeah,
There
like
was a
that one
reason-
broad. Oh,
There was a reason why in Wisconsin they had to stop believing women on their so-called rape allegations
Yeah.
because literally every man was going to fucking jail. Regret sex, that's what they started it with. It's like,
That was-
I
that was Me
regret
Too in a
fucking this guy.
nutshell.
He raped me. I screwed around on my husband or boyfriend. He raped me.
who the fuck even started that fucking idea? That,
Me too.
retroactive
Me too.
consent.
Me too.
I
No,
It's
like
me
who
too.
was the dumb cunt that thought
Well-
up that bright idea?
I remember Alyssa Milano being a
no idea.
mouthpiece for that.
Oh,
I just remember her being a mouthpiece for that at one time, but
that's a dumb commie cunt that
I mean,
needs an elbow to the fucking
that's
forehead.
what we're saying here, guys. I mean, come on. You all know
Cousin Daddy
what rape
brother.
is. Forced penetration against your will. That's all rape has ever been.
It's sex against one's will, and it can go
Yes.
either way: male, female, female, male, 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 woman, woman. It
You
doesn't
know,
even have penetration. It just has to be
Buyer's-
full sexual.
There you go.
Let me
There
tell
you
you
go.
something.
That's
It-
what
it-
you
it-
are,
Buyer's
Dave.
remorse.
Look, it is.
Chaos, you're a product of buyer's remorse.
Look,
Oh.
let me tell you, it is
Oh.
literally these people. Look, it is these people at the top incentivizing these women, weaponizing them, using them as a money-making guide. That's all that is. You know, if they can pump it in women's heads that, hey, you had sex with somebody that maybe, didn't turn out good for you, you didn't like it. Come on, let's help you get some money off that. Let's help put these motherfuckers in jail, which, by the way, is a private business in most cases. It's all about money. It's about money.
All it
Women are
did-
used to make money.
I
Of
think
course.
what they really
It's a
thought would
grift.
happen is all the women that were out there, like that, kind of were sleeping their way up the chain, had
Yeah.
a chance at doing a power move and getting the person that they're fucking removed and literally get someone placed in there that has the same ideological thought process as the dumb cunt.
Yes.
And here we go.
Now,
That's
the
what
very
happened.
now-
I don't think any of these broads got raped. They were having
Well-
sex and tried to pull a power move.
well,
Dude,
chaos.
I've literally
here's the-
seen a chick do it.
College,
Like
oh
I've
yeah, they fucking regretted it and lied.
Well, here's the slippery slope of it. Of course these women regret it, but they had a willful choice to do it, right?
no,
They may have not
don't
liked-
yeah,
regret.
they made the choice. They could have
Well,
said no,
no.
the job ain't worth my dignity, but they wanted the job. So like,
They-
all right, kind of like with
Hey,
what's his
they-
name?
they
If you
don't
want to be
regret
part of
doing
Hollywood,
it.
if you want to be part of Hollywood, you got to do Hollywood, and I'm Hollywood,
Here-
baby.
Yeah. Well,
And
here's
once they
again-
start becoming irrelevant, like Alyssa Milano, bing
Yeah.
bang boom, here's your chance.
well, again, they know that
Mattress
these people are
girl.
slime ball. Look, they
Ugh.
know that people like Harvey Weinstein and other people, they know they're slime balls. Of course they're going to regret it. There's the slippery part about it. Yeah, of course it is. But hey, you made the choice to sleep with him, took a gamble, and hoped that your career would skyrocket. And when it did, and then suddenly years later, shit comes out about, oh, I did. Of course I regretted it. And they're not lying, but they made the
They all
conscious
do when
choice
they
to do
age
it,
out,
so I
though.
don't feel bad about it.
They
Of
all
course,
do it when they age out. When they age
Yeah.
out and they're too old, they
When-
get the roles they used to have. That's when they start telling producers, rape them versus actually,
Yeah.
oh, I willingly did this with them.
Now,
Yeah,
They're all
it is
whores.
the job.
They're all whores.
Now, Paul.
For the job.
Now, Paul.
And
it
you
is
know-
true. Go ahead.
Well, just a sec, Outlaw. I want to address what Paul was talking about here. Anyone that doesn't know who Mattress Girl is, she doesn't even regret having sex with the dude. The fucking
No.
text messages clearly prove that. But she wanted the attention. And guess what? Saying I got raped on a college gets you literally media fucking coming out
yeah.
the goddamn wazoo.
And
Right?
that's the
And
cunt
again-
that accused the lacrosse team, or was that a different broad?
No. This is a different chick. This is
Okay.
the chick that was like drunk text messaging, sober text messages, and harassing the guy to come over and fuck him, right? And then a few weeks later said, "Oh, well, he raped me," right?
Mhm.
Got all this fucking media attention, got the guy suspended from school,
Mhm.
got him a fucking criminal record, even though the police had all the evidence that she
I'd
was
kill a
a
bitch for
willing
that.
participant.
Yep,
Right.
Now,
I'm going
look,
to
I'd
prison.
kill a bitch for that.
I'm
But
going
she
to
was a
prison.
willing, but
Now,
she
look,
was a
here-
willing participant. And then to keep the narrative going, she literally carried around a small mattress on her back, and that got her the title
Yeah.
of Mattress Girl. Right.
Well,
Now,
Right.
here's
So
the
she's
thing.
pandering
She
to that
didn't-
kind of flamboyant nonsense like
Right.
that. I'd kill that bitch for that, man.
Now-
she didn't regret the sex at all. Not at
No.
all. She
No.
just wanted to
Right.
use it as a fucking tool to make somebody pay attention to her, right? And she
Once
got
again, they're all
the
liars
people
and
in the
whores.
world.
They're all liars and
Now,
whores and degenerates. You know,
Right,
all
but
of
now,
let me
Paul-
finish this out. Let me finish
go
this
ahead.
out. Okay, so Buddy's life
Sorry,
was
Chris, go
ruined.
on.
He was actually removed from school, right? So his college
Yep.
degree was taken away. He now
Yep.
has it's still stuck on his record, even though he's innocent.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
She came out a couple years ago and wrote a book because now men won't pay attention to her and don't want to date her because she is notoriously the mattress girl. But
Oh,
yet, to get
'Cause
more
you're a fucking
attention
lying
and
whore.
more profit,
Yeah, fuck her.
she
Dude.
wrote a
Fuck that
fucking
bitch.
book. She wrote
Now-
a book fucking pretending to be another victim again.
Well, so did
victim of-
Monica
Again, a lying
Lewinsky.
whore again.
Now-
Monica Lewinsky made the willing choice to get down on her knees and gave good old
Yeah.
Slick Willie the guac guac hawk
Well, that's
and
Exactly.
she's
That's
trying
what
to
I'm
pull the whole he was a man in power and blah, I'm just a woman. I'm
Now,
a
Paul,
woman.
Paul,
Nah,
that's
she
what I was
guac
going to
guac
say.
hawk to it on that thing.
That's what I was going to
willingly.
say. Now, these women are not lying when they say, "Oh, I really didn't want to sleep with Harvey Weinstein." They didn't. But the fact of the matter is, you made a conscious choice. Something in your brain pan, you know,
That money,
tripped,
fame,
and you were like,
Cha-ching.
"Oh man,
Cha-ching.
you know what?"
Cha-ching. Cha-ching.
They're
more
not.
to
Look,
'em.
again,
That's
guys,
because they're called
they're
lying
not lying.
whores for a reason.
They're
They're
really
lying
not.
whores
They
for a
made
reason.
a deal with the
Okay, too
devil,
many
and the
people are
devil was
talking over
Harvey
each other.
Weinstein.
Sorry.
A lot of them,
Go.
a lot of them are not lying when they tell you they didn't want to have sex with these higher ups. But the fact
I
of the
see your
matter
point.
is, something in their brain pan snapped, and they're like, you know what? Maybe this will pay off in the long run, like Harvey Weinstein or any of these Hollywood producers, Trump, whoever.
Well-
and they took the gamble. That's where I lose, you know, my care for it, because no, bitch, you made the self-conscious choice to go ahead and gamble with these men, knowing
they're
that you
they're
were gonna
double
catch
dipping.
something or
It
Outlaw.
was all about the power.
Yes.
They wanted
Outlaw.
the power.
Outlaw. Fellas, outlaw. They're double dipping. They took the
Yes.
fucking deal. They took the
Yes.
original deal, and then they
Yes.
fucking renegotiated the deal and said, you know what I can do too? I can also do character assassination, get even more money out of this guy.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Right?
but
So
More
I'm
victim
not a
point.
whore, even though I was
but,
a whore a few years ago, but now I'm not a whore now. So I'm
but
gonna whore
here's,
myself out again, right? You know? Fucking
but
whore.
here's the thing.
From a whore
Here's the
to a
thing.
housewife.
But here's the
Yeah,
thing.
it's
Fuck
not
out here.
Just
All whores are
because,
whores.
just because they're telling the truth and really didn't want to sleep with people like Harvey Weinstein, that's not rape. That's
Nope.
not
Right.
the definition of rape. You
If you got
willfully
raped,
allowed that
you
man
guys
to
sent that
sleep
guy to
with
fucking
you.
prison forever. You wouldn't be like,
Yes,
hey,
you allowed that man.
you paid me for sex willingly. Years
Right.
later, I changed my mind to get more money out of you in a
Right.
courtroom to say it wasn't rape, right? That's like
Right.
double
So,
whoring you. I'm like, hey, if I'm paying her twice, can she fuck me for the second time too?
Again,
Paul,
you know, this broad
Paul,
brushing of
what
I
painting
pay
all
for it
women
again,
as
right?
fucking
Like, come on,
stupid.
hey, suck my dick again, right? Come on.
Again,
Paul,
broad brushing
Paul.
this whole thing about painting women as fucking stupid. They're not dumb, guys.
I
They're
know
not.
they're not
We're
dumb.
They're
But they're fucking
manipulative.
whores, is what they
Right.
are.
They're
Well,
manipulative.
I've heard these words 3 times out of my uncle's mouth. Once when I was a little kid, about 7 or 8, once when I was a teenager, and once probably about 6, 7 years ago.
Right,
He said they're all dumb cunts.
right. You want to hear something my dad told me a long time ago that never made any fucking sense till a few years ago? He said,
Go ahead.
if it wasn't for that patch of fur between their legs, it'd be a bounty on their heads.
Boy,
They are
howdy.
ignorant. They're willfully ignorant.
Boy,
Fuck.
howdy.
Yeah.
Right.
If it wasn't for the, I gotta remember that. Paul, you gotta
Yeah.
text me that so I remember. 'cause
Well,
my
you got my
memory's shit.
Discord. Hit me on Discord, bro. You know?
Yeah,
Sorry,
that is a
Paul.
And
good one.
like he's been married to my mom since she was like 20 and he was 22, or sorry, 21 and a half, right? And they're still married. And he's born in 59, so he's goddamn 66. He's about to be 65, right? Am I correct in my math right now? I'm kind of inebriated, but anyways, yeah, they had me and my sister. They never fucking cheat on each other, that kind of shit and everything, right? So I got the whole myth of like seeing what a real relationship is supposed to be like, right? Yeah. He says what it is based on what he's seen and just dealing with her dumbass. Again, I can talk shit about mama. She's my mama, not your mama. I can talk shit about your mama, whatever. It's just fucking jokes. Anyways,
Yeah, sorry guys. I didn't mean to speak over
Yeah,
Paul.
Paul, you're gonna have to say that again because everybody was talking over each other, and I think only a couple of us caught it. What was the saying again?
what my dad said.
Yeah.
He said, if it wasn't for the patch of fur between their legs, it'd be a bounty on their heads.
That's good.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I don't know if
You're good.
if
You're good,
I'm-
man. You're good, Outlaw. You're good.
I
I'm
don't
just
know if
saying.
I've got a delay or
I'm not saying. I'm not saying my dad has all the wisdom in the world or anything, but he has these moments where I'm kind of like, well, yeah, he's right about that shit. You know?
Hey, man, everybody gets a Mark Twain moment once in their life, at least.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Right.
Between mushrooms and alcohol and weed, you do get some moments here and there, you know, in his life experience and shit. And he's had a few, you know. He's a good guy. He ain't perfect, but he's a good fucking guy, man.
Hey, man, ain't none of us fucking perfect. We're just the fucking best we can be, for the
That's
most
what I'm
part.
saying.
And as long as you're
That's what I'm saying.
trying, you're trying, right? That's
That's what
as
I'm
good
saying.
as anybody can ask for. I got
Yeah.
my fucking faults. I have fucking
We all
moments
do.
where I lose
We
my
all do.
temper, right?
Yeah, me
Fuck.
too. Me too. Yeah.
I have sick, twisted thoughts, guys.
I've commented something that got deleted from this chat earlier, which I get. You're trying to save your YouTube channel, which I completely understand. You know, I'm not upset about it, but you know, I understand how people can actually lay their hands on kids as adults and
Mhm.
expect people not to fucking have like horrible things happen to them. You know.
Well, like I
Yeah.
said, there is no fucking ifs, ands, or buts when it came to the story we covered tonight.
Oh yes, I
If
agree.
if
I
these
agree
people
completely, bro.
were abusing, yeah, the evidence is all there that they were clearly abusing this kid and like enjoying the whole fucking experience. My message,
Man.
and I don't give a fuck
Oh.
if you run into these people in your jail and you're here listening to our sorry asses.
Stick
Please
them
feel
mercifully.
free,
Stick them
yes, to
mercifully.
use them like a fucking pincushion.
I was gonna
right?
say the same fucking thing. Same
Peg
fucking thing.
everything.
Yeah.
Create some new holes. Maybe see how much fluid is inside
That
them.
that
There's
guy has
definitely a
14
soul in
assholes
there.
now. Look at that. You know.
Well, like I said,
Feel
Chris,
free.
earlier, I mean, I don't understand how a lot of these judges and lawyers ain't 6 foot under. They fuck around.
Well,
a
Those
lot.
motherfuckers
I
need it
mentioned
too.
this earlier. RPM covered that one judge that ruled that one guy's thing where he took his kids away from us. They never see him again. Right? You have to pay for everything.
Yeah.
That dude showed up on his driveway, murked his ass right there, and went off in the woods and killed himself.
Well, other
all-
than killing himself, he was a hero to all men across the fucking first world countries, as far as I'm concerned.
Did
Me
you,
too.
Fucking
did
Me
all
too.
of our shitholes are the same way.
But
If,
hey,
if
here's
me and
my
Lisa had
thing.
to walk into
Here's my
court
thing.
tomorrow,
Here's my thing. I wouldn't just kill that one judge. I'd be like, who else profiteers off of this? Let's go get them too, right?
oh yeah, you should have a list. You should have a
That's what I'm
huge
saying.
list.
Well, Paul, did you
Yeah.
did you watch that video I did yesterday?
I did not see that one yesterday. I was actually away from internet signal out in a town
One-
about
Alamo
50
one?
miles south of Woodville, Texas. There's no goddamn internet. So I was hanging out with the kiddos, my parents, and everything, fishing and riding golf carts around out in the woods and shit, which
One
it
of
was surprising
the
to tell to see my kids lose their shit over like a little bit of muddy terrain. I'm going like, we ain't getting stuck. Calm down. She's looking at me. She goes, what if Sam Squatch is out here? I'm like, ain't no Sam Squatch or Hillybillies out here. Calm down. Calm down.
one of the
Spams.
stories that was in that video I did yesterday was a guy that got taken to court for alimony, and
Right.
they took him for everything. He had a $2 million, I think,
sorry, of
inheritance
course.
in his bank account. They took all that from him. They were charging him $10,000 a month in alimony. He couldn't pay that. He couldn't pay that. So they wound up taking all that $2 million, took the house that he had inherited from,
Uh-huh.
and he was on the verge of committing suicide over all of it because he can't afford it. They
Well,
do that to men.
I ain't
They
got
just-
shit. So half of
they're out of
she's got
control.
more than what I got. So I'm gonna like, does she want to pull the trigger right now? I'm like, you're being giving my broke ass man money. So go ahead and do that.
These men, when you extend that to the fullest extent of treating men like cattle and numbers in a system like Chris,
We're all
talked about,
numbers, bro. We're all numbers.
you-
Just get past that, man. We're all numbers.
when you hyperextend that to its extent and you treat men like they're literal cattle and property, and they start killing themselves in numbers, I mean, is it any surprise why people are bucking against this bullshit.
Well, of course,
shit,
when you
I-
wrong
hell-
somebody, you can only wrong somebody so far before they
Yeah.
fucking snap, right? Now,
Ugh, why are
mostly
these men
they
not getting
snap
married?
inwards, right?
One-
They commit
What now?
suicide. Mostly they snap inwards and commit suicide, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in the family court situation, we should have it snap outwards and literally
yeah.
take as many of these motherfuckers with you as you can.
I agree with you completely, Chris.
And
Completely
as
agree
a
with
trans
you.
black woman who's a lesbian, I can say that.
Well, I'm a masculine transman. I'm a masculine presenting trans lesbian as well, but I'm also part giraffe, so I can say what the fuck I want to, right? I'm
Well,
unique.
you're the one way up there, so yeah, I guess you
I'm
can say
unique.
whatever you
You
want.
know, since we're making shit up, right? You know, playing pretend and everything, right? I can just be what the hell I want to be left alone, right? Wait, hold on.
Exactly.
I can't be left alone, can I? The one thing I want in the world is to be left alone, and I can't be left alone, right? Huh? It's funny, right?
Well, that's another topic for another day, because I mean, we are going to go into the extreme government overreach that's happening. And like I said, I really want to find out if this case in Chilliwack was actually fucking legit or if it was just something that was done up with AI. But it looks legit, and we're going to see within the next couple of days if Canada has
Right.
become as bad as the UK. Right?
Man, oh
So,
man.
It's
Well-
coming to a fucking country near you soon, motherfuckers.
Hey, boys. I have some I have some confidence in my own self here, and people like me that I have lots of tools and the things you use tools with to actually bombard people with things that might make them change their minds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least make them, make it their last mistake. Last mistakes are generally
So,
the best ones.
When you're dealing with a crowd of people, the loudest one, you fucking shoot the loudest one first and be like, who's the second loudest? That one's next. And you're going to keep going down the list like, cool, you got it? Right. I hope you guys all have the same provisions as well. And you got friends around you, not if they're not next door or whatever. Maybe you can face your next door neighbors to kind of figure it out. Maybe your friends who agree with you or not, your local friends around you can be like, hey, man, get over here and go over where you're at. We can figure some shit out, Have some plans set up because shit's going to get bad in the future. It really is. And it's not the sun farting, a Carrier effect, all that kind of shit, or Carrington effect, whatever, Carrington event. We're talking like, politically created crap that shouldn't even happen at all in this day and age in our countries. But, whatever. If they want us to fuck around and find out, they can. It's happened before, It really has.
Well, that's just it, though, Paul. I've stated it for a long time.
I know you have, bro.
We've been castrated. Let's face it.
Oh.
They have
Mhm.
castrated us for decades, and
they know
it's
it,
had
and
a
they
great
know it.
effect. And they know it, and that's again what all these new things that are coming up are all about, right? Like,
Yep.
we are going to push it to the maximum, and we're going to see how many of you actually say something. We're going to use the ones that start off as examples, right? We'll put them in jail. We'll fucking kill them, whatever the case may be. And it'll put everybody else back in line, right? I've dealt with some small scale, like cattles and stuff. And let's
It'll put some of them back in
exactly
line.
what we
Other
do
ones
with
will get more resolute and then make better plans.
Well,
You know.
Seraphim, I mean, with the economy crashing, of course these judges are charging more and padding this bullshit list of demands out of these men $10,000 a month
Emperor.
for their retirement fee. Of
Emperor.
course they are. Recession's hitting
and
everybody.
again, with numbers dropping, right? With more Western men saying, I'm not getting married and I'm not having children, right?
Emperor.
They're losing money.
Yeah.
Emperor. I heard something earlier too about Canada saying that it's going to charge businesses a 66% sales tax when businesses close down their businesses and try to get out, right? I'm
I
like,
don't know about that one, but they are charging a 60% tax when you sell a home.
well, I heard. Well, obviously, when the government, our government, Australia, all the mainstream Westernized governments, like shut down everything over fucking COVID, right? it limited fucking business and commerce, right? Because the fucking
yeah.
coup, sniffles, right? So,
Well, dude, we had 2 million businesses here in Canada that fucking closed.
well, over in Florida, I had to shut my business down, because of sniffles. I'm like, I can't run a small gym coaching specific athletes and shit, and general population when they say you got the fucking sniffles. And this is in Florida. Everybody's like, oh, that governor over there is awesome. I'm like, fuck that. That dude fucking still didn't say shit about anything for how long? I had to close my business down because I couldn't fucking afford to keep it up.
Exactly.
If I
And
kept
now
it up, the fines are too fucking high. Are you fucking kidding me? Get the fuck out of here, right? Well, that's
now
a
we've got
conservative. That's a conservative guy, right? DeSantis, right? Get the fuck out of
oh
here.
fuck.
They're
Get the
all
fuck
fucking
out of
cucks.
here.
They're all fucking
Conservative,
cucks.
liberals. Hey
They're
man,
all fucking cucks. They're all fucking
the,
cucks. Fuck them all.
the NDP here is now the Nazi Party's fucking like promotional fucking party, right?
Oh, jeez. Would you mind
So
can you imagine
all
what
the
they say
people
about me? About
yeah, and the liberals
real
are
fiscal
generally
policy and
Nazis.
actually real economics. Oh my gosh, you are literally Hitler incarnate. I'm like, because you can't spend money that's fake. Really?
Right? Hey man, I saw a
Anyway.
great short the other day where liberals are finally realizing that when you do price capping, right? Like when government does price capping on shit, which is what Kamala Harris is actually trying to push.
Well, it's all the
right?
commies do this, but yeah.
They're realizing, oh, that's communism. they didn't realize
Hold
it
on.
before.
Hold on.
Because again, they
Hold
don't
on.
even know what
Hold-
communism is anymore.
Okay. Say it more slowly for me to understand and wrap their head around that, because these okay. I know how stupid they are. I know what you said. I comprehend and everything, but it took that for them to understand it when it explained to them.
Yes.
And we're assuming
Yes.
that these fucking libtards actually understand. These leftoids actually understand what price capping or price manipulation is about, right? They actually understand what that is, right? Do they or do they not?
These groups that fucking go out and call you a fascist and a communist and a racist and all that shit don't even realize what any of those fucking words mean or what they're contributed to. And they don't realize that they're actually taking part in it themselves. So when they call you a fascist, right? And then tell you we have to censor your speech, right? That they are being fascist. They don't realize that.
I know
they don't
this.
realize it. So they've sold them fascism.
It's because they're fucked in the head. I know. I know.
Well, that's how they sold it to them. They sold them the idea of fascism by telling them it was anti-fascist. And now they're out calling you a fascist while being fascist.
I know.
Of course it is.
It's called projecting.
It's brain scrambling. You know
They
what I
turned
mean?
it into the hero versus villain boogeyman WWE drama bullshit.
Well, that's what it's always been about, Outlaw.
That's the
and
Marxism
JR is
in it.
The liberal shaming language is essentially one of the steps of fascism.
As I've said, and some people disagree probably, I say liberalism is socialism with extra steps.
Yeah.
It
Anyway,
just takes
guys,
longer to get there.
Yeah, well, we're there in
That's
a fucking
liberalism.
record rate now, buddy.
Oh, fuck
we're
yeah.
in record rates now. Anyway, we're past the 2-hour mark here, guys. Not that we couldn't go on for another 10 hours, but I don't have much of StreamYard's time left.
Right.
Yeah,
Hey, Chris.
I have the free version.
Hey, Chris, hit me up on Discord, man. I think I've seen that Shinobi shit, but I don't think we're friends yet, man. So I'd like to invite you to my Discord so we can,
I'm already in your Discord.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you? Okay, good. So we can keep cohabitating all the hate and white supremacy and anti-communism that we fucking do, you know?
Obviously, I can find many ways and places to call you guys bigots, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I got to have that connection.
Keep on with the bigotry, y'all. Keep on with the bigotry, y'all. Freedom first. And all the bigotry.
All Yep. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to pop off, but I want to thank everybody for coming in, and go check out the other guys' channels like Singletown Bachelor, Mig
Yeah, man.
Outlaw, and of course Chaos for You,
Yo.
7248 or some shit.
Some shit. I'm on my backup
Something
channel
like
right
that.
now because I'm in YouTube prison.
Oh yeah, he's in YouTube jail for something somebody did in his chat. But hey,
Yeah, fuck all that shit.
Gotta love it.
Again, communism, right? YouTube's
Yeah,
full of it.
exactly. Exactly.
And farewell to Susan.
Yeah.
Ding
fuck
dong, the bitch is gone. The bitch
Dead,
is
yeah.
gone. The bitch is gone. Ding dong, the wicked bitch is dead.
Rest in hell, bitch.
Yay! All right, guys, I'm going to end the stream here right now. And
Right, right.
like I said, hopefully in the next few days, I will be able to get together with some other people and bring up some more of these topics when it comes to, again, the family courts, the separations from fathers and their children, the damage that this does to the entire fucking human race right now is under attack by
The depopulation agenda is a go. The future is
it is definitely
email.
definitely a go. And again,
And
how do you get out
communism
of
is
it?
his
I don't
name.
know.
No, you
Yeah,
gotta
I don't
fight
know.
your way out of it. That's the only way out of communism is fighting your way out of it.
You can vote your way in, but you have to kill your way out. That is a very fucking cold hard fact of this tyrannical fucking situation we're living in. The only upside is right now, divided as we are, there are still many more of us than there are of them, but that's not something we should rely on.
Escape
Because,
from
like-
LA starts coming to mind.
Yeah, it really does. Actually, that's starting to look like a fucking improvement. All right, lads, I've got to take off, but again, thanks to everybody for coming and hanging out, and we will see you all next time.
You wanna play some WoW? Or are you too good to play with